Hello, James Baker here with the incredible, the infamous attorney Joaquin Rosales.
How you doing, Jim? Nice to see you again.
Thanks for being here for part 3 of our 7-part series on immigration in the U.S. Today, I want to ask you a little bit about merit-based visas, and that's to say visas that aren't based on investment would be the big distinction.
Yeah, sure. It's merit. We like to call them merit-based visas because they focus on sort of like the person's achievements, education, sort of field of work, and essentially there's a couple of them, right? The good thing about these merit-based visas, as we call them, is that you don't really need somebody else. Like, we've spoken before, you want to do a family petition or something, obviously you need a family member to petition for you. You want to do an employment visa, you need an employer, right, to sponsor you.
You need an investment, you need something to invest in.
This one, you just do in these ones, you petition yourself, and you basically are telling the government, hey, look, I'm really good at what I do, or I have very good knowledge into this particular field or this particular topic, or what I do is of importance to the United States national interest, and because of that, you guys should give me a residency. And that's the essence of it, which is really cool, right? You can essentially tell the government of the United States, hey, give me a permanent residency because it's in your benefit that a person like me comes to your country. So those are...
List them out. What are there's like 3 or 4 or 5 of them,
There's
right?
a couple of them, yeah. So essentially it's like you can think of it as 1, 2, and 3, essentially. Actually, the ones that are merit-based is really 1 and 2. So it's the EB1 and EB2. National interest waiver is the EB2 one. So the EB1, the sort of legal jargon for it, shall we say, is people with extraordinary abilities. Okay, so that's sort of like the standard. And I mean, I don't want people to get discouraged or
it's not superhuman strength.
It's not
or ability to fly.
Exactly. So you have to demonstrate that the person is extraordinary in a particular field, and you do this in several ways. There's various variables that you use in order to prove to the government that you meet this sort of level that they're looking for. There's whether or not you have publications, whether or not you have awards in your field, whether or not you're getting paid more than other people in your field, if you're like a judge in a panel, right?
You want to give us like 2 examples of any of EB1s you've done?
Yeah, so without getting obviously in the details of any client, I have one client who was an expert engineer on airplane metals, right? And he just, obviously in the air, they bend the, you know what I mean? And all that stuff.
Very important.
So it's like a very niche sort of field, but he's really talented at what he does. His studies were used by several professionals across the world in that particular industry. His work was published and used in studies, and he also had awards. And he worked for some very renowned companies, and the guy is just really, he's just really good at what he does, essentially. So we have to prove that by all these different variables that I keep repeating myself about, and those, like I said, are publications, awards. If you're speaking in panels, if you are judging the work of others that are in that field, if the stuff that you've done has been used in your field for the betterment of the field, if you have specific licenses, right, that others can't get, if you're part of like certain clubs that you can't just pay to get in, it's a merit-based club. So like they look at all these different things, right, and you have to meet a certain amount, at least 3 of these variables, and then they evaluate them, and that's our job, right, to convince them and convince the government that this is a person of extraordinary ability. On the other hand, we have the EB2 NIW, which is sort of like a one step down, I guess we can do, and it splits in 2 essentially. in terms of the requirement, I don't want to get too in detail so we don't confuse people. Essentially, is either you have as a basic requirement, you either have a master's degree or you have exceptional ability as opposed to extraordinary ability, and then you need to obviously once again, just like with the EB1, meet certain criteria and the things that we listed before, like awards, remuneration, and publications, and et cetera, et cetera. Being in media are the things that we use, and that can go across all fields, right? It could be a business background, it could be engineering, like I just said, it could be singers. I'm for the EB1 more than anything. The national interest waiver is a little bit more nuanced in the sense that we have to prove that it is in the national interest of the United States to give you a residency. So those tend to be more like nuanced.
Okay.
But yeah, so essentially, that's the essence of these merit-based visas. You're trying to prove to the government of the United States that it's in their in the
country's best interest, right?
In the country's best interest. Thank you. To allow you to reside here and live here and help the country.
Well, I'm thinking about this, and someone comes over. I imagine. So the extraordinary ability, the EB1, is really for super technical people, and I feel like, and also in what I've seen in my experience, the EB2 NIW, the national interest waiver, has a little bit more of an economic aspect to it.
Yeah, I mean, yes. So, I mean, once again, you have to focus on the national interest.
I'm just trying to separate them. Like, which
right.
one do you choose for which
Well,
person?
I mean, really, once again, like, just like everything, we have to sort of assess the person's profile, right? What they were looking for, what they want to do, to see what avenue would be best for them. So, just to give you an example, you could be extraordinary at painting, and I could, get you an EB1. We can get you an EB1 extraordinary ability visa based on you being one of the best painters in the world. But we probably, and not to say anything about painters, okay, but we probably would have a little bit more of a problem trying to get you an EB2 NIW, because the government will probably say, well, how does being a good painter how is that in the national interest of the United States, right?
Exactly.
So it'll be a little harder so even though the echelon, right, is higher, extraordinary, right, you perhaps wouldn't be able to get a lower echelon visa like EB2 NIW, exceptional ability, because where is the national interest will be sort of like the government's argument. So you have to sort of tippy-toe around and see which one fits you best, right? So it doesn't particularly mean...
So if you're a renowned neurosurgeon and you are the best brain surgeon out there, and you probably qualify for both, honestly. If you qualify for both, you do the EB1?
Yeah, EB1, EB2. I mean, it really, depends. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, I guess in terms of speed, for one, you can get what is called a premium processing, where you get a response in 15 days, and for the one you do. EB1 you can, EB2 NIW you cannot.
Oh, so if you apply for EB1, you can find out in 15 days whether or not you get approved.
Yeah, you have to refer an extra fee to the government.
And both of these result in permanent residency in the U.S., right?
That is correct. And I mean, I don't want people also to think that, I have to be the best of the best. No, you just have to be higher than the average. You have to sort of, be a higher... how do I explain it easier? Like, you have to do a better job than most people in your field, right?
And you have to have a good attorney that puts a good case together. I've seen many people who are very qualified and very exceptional, and it would make sense from a logical standpoint, going over their background, for them to be here. If you're the USA, I mean, that's a big stance for me to take for the whole country. But I guess the USCIS agents are the ones making these decisions. But in any case, you have to put the case together. So if you have a good attorney, and maybe that means you write an article, you get it published, maybe you reach out to a professor, you get some recommendation letters, you have to work on it, put it together, and that's what the good attorney does for you. So if you have the knowledge, the criteria, I mean, the minimum would be like secondary education, like a years in a career, like in that career or something like that, right?
Yeah, I mean,
there's some basic baseline.
Right, so the EB2 NIW, it's either, a master's degree or college with 10 years experience.
Okay.
There's
some
nuances.
There's baselines.
So baselines exactly for these ones. But there's in previous videos we were talking about temporary and permanent visas. And there's sort of like the same thing going on with merit-based visas. So you have these two, right, that lead you to a residency, but then, for example, you have the O1, right? And then that's sort of like the equivalent, right, to, you know, it is a temporary visa, but it's equivalent to, say, an E2 to an EB5 that we spoke to before.
The
right?
O1 is like the EB1, but
it's like the EB1, EB2, but it's like a temporary thing, and the requirements are not as you know high.
So if you're like 26 and you fit a lot of the boxes, but not all the boxes, you would be like an O1.
Yeah.
Most of the O1s I know, my clients are younger guys.
Yeah, like artists. I mean, there's a lot of things, and that goes back to a point that I wanted to bring up. I don't want people to think and get scared thinking that you have to be the best of the best of the best, and you have to have like a Nobel Peace Prize in order to get these things, right? So you could be a really good engineer that worked on, say, an album that, you know, won some awards, right? And just because you weren't the main artist doesn't mean that perhaps you don't have talents that we use, right, as an engineer for a song to go, I don't know, like number 1 or number 2 or whatever, or something like that, and you can apply for an O1 visa for that, right? So we have to look at your profile and don't think that, and don't get discouraged thinking, oh, I'm not gonna, you know, be able to fit in these requirements. You know, there's plenty for people, and that's why we're here, right? We're the ones that we have to come up and of ways to convince the government that, you know, it should let you in here.
I'm learning a lot from these talks that we're doing today. I mean, I've always heard of the O1, but I never looked at it as like the O1 is like to the EB1 what the E2 is the EB5.
Correct.
You know, it's like
that's a good way to
lower criteria for acceptance, a little bit easier to get, and also maybe it makes sense because you don't want a green card and you'd rather just have an in and out visa where you can just come and go, and
yep.
And that's a spot. So I mean, there's a lot to discuss here. If you think you're extraordinary, or it's in the national interest of the U.S. to come here and you want to discuss your options, I think you're all extraordinary, first of all. Everyone's extraordinary. But give a call, schedule a call with Joaquin. He would love to go over your case with you. There should be links wherever we are. And I appreciate you watching. There's always tax implications that come to this, but get the visa first. Live your life how you want. We can make the taxes work. Thanks for your time.
No problem.
And
Thank you for having me
stay tuned. There's more videos coming on different visas and topics. We're doing them all. Thanks.
Take care.